Welcome friends, welcome to Physics in 20 minutes. In this video we are going to talk about kinetic friction, static friction and fluid resistance and terminal speed. So we have already seen what are the basic types of forces in the last few classes. My normal force is there which works when two bodies are in contact, two surfaces are in contact. So this is a block and there is a surface, they are in contact, then the normal force acts, and the normal force direction is always perpendicular to the surface. So if this is my surface, normal force will be perpendicular to it. It's a very common notion to think that normal force is always perpendicularly upward. It is not the case. If the surface is tilted, then the normal force will also tilt, and it will tilt in a direction like this. The other force is the frictional force. So whenever this body tends to move, suppose this body is moving towards right side, then the frictional force will work to the left side. The third force we have seen is tension. So if a block is pulled by a rope, then the tension will be there in the rope and it will act on the body. The direction of tension is along the rope and away from the body. Weight of the body always works downward. So let's focus on friction a little bit more in this class. So I will first show you a small demonstration. So just look at the motion of this block. So what will happen is a strong force is provided from this side to the block and you observe the motion. So you could see that the block started the motion and it stops automatically after traveling some distance. So the question is, what is the force acting on it? You can see that its velocity decreases and finally becomes zero. That means there is an acceleration or deceleration. If there is a deceleration, there has to be a force, and that force is force of friction between the block and the surface. What will be the direction of the force here?
Opposite to the direction of the motion of the block.
Force on the block is always opposite to the motion of the block. Let's have a free body diagram here. So this is my free body diagram. Normal reaction works upward, weight works downward. You apply a push on one side and the friction is working on the other side. This is not exactly the free body diagram when it is in motion, but this is the free body diagram when the block is pushed at that point, when it is being pushed. So this force working towards the left is, we have called it as force of kinetic friction, and it is normally given by mu k into n. Fk is equal to mu k into n. We use a suffix k to represent that fact. N is the normal reaction from the surface. Here mu k is called coefficient of kinetic friction. Now remember, in itself this equation is a scalar, it is not a vector relation. Do remember that normal reaction and friction, they point in different directions. So if you take vectorially, this equation is incorrect. Take it as a scalar relationship, it gives you the magnitude of the friction. The direction of the friction is opposite to the motion, and that is how we have to remember. We also assume that mu k is constant with velocity. Later on, when you do a higher level of physics, mechanics and fluid dynamics, you will realize that the mu k changes with speed. There are considerable variations, but for this course we will assume that mu k remains constant. On what factor does mu k depend on? The mu k depends on the kind of surfaces which are in contact. So if I have the block and the floor, then the value of mu k depends on how these two surfaces are going to be in contact with each other. It's a very complex phenomena. In general, if you make the surface smoother, the mu k decreases. But for very smooth surface, the molecules of the two surfaces will cling on to each other, and again mu k may increase. That is something we call it as cold welding. In general, a complex phenomena. For the time being, just remember that as the surface gets smoother, the mu k decreases. Lubricating oils, etc., they decrease mu k. They are used in most of the machine parts. They actually reduce the coefficient of kinetic friction. Then that brings us to the static friction. Friction forces may also act when there is no relative motion. So example is, look at the top left of this image. I have a surface on which the block is kept, and there is a string provided here, but it is not pulled. So there is no tension. Since there is no tension here, there is no force working toward the left also. The only forces are weight and normal reaction. In this graph, we will plot tension in the string at the x-axis and the frictional force on the y-axis. So for the first diagram, tension is 0. So on the tension axis, we are somewhere here at the origin. There is no frictional force, so we are again at the origin for friction. Now let us apply a little bit tension in the string, but the block still doesn't move, it remains stationary. What does it mean? It means that there has to be a force in the opposite direction, which is called force of static friction. So you are somewhere middle of this part of the graph. So if you are applying some significant tension here, you will get some amount of static friction here. Now if you increase the tension from center, let's say you come here, the static friction increases. So static friction along this graph keeps increasing. And as long as the static friction is increasing, the block will remain at rest. This you can try at home by tying a string to a relatively heavy object like a table or chair, pull it and observe it. But there is a maximum limit for a given pair of surfaces up to which the static friction can increase. Once that limit is reached, we call the static friction as maximized, and after that the static friction breaks down. That means once you have reached to that maximum, then the tension takes over and the block will start moving. As the block starts moving, you come into the domain of kinetic friction, which is generally little less than the static friction. The kinetic friction have slight variations in itself, but we assume that its average value remains same as the tension increases and the velocity of the block increases. So initially static friction is 0. Static friction increases as you pull the block. It reaches to its maximum value. The maximum value depends on the nature of the surfaces involved. At that point it will break down. The block will start moving. As the block starts moving, you get into the domain of kinetic friction, and then it will remain hovering around that value of kinetic friction, which is slightly less than the value of the static friction. The friction that acts on a body when a body tends to slide over a surface but does not actually slide is called static friction. Remember, when it actually slides, then you get into the domain of kinetic friction. So while solving problem, you have to ascertain this, whether the body is actually sliding or not sliding. The maximum value of the static friction is mu s times n, where n is normal reaction and mu s is called coefficient of static friction. This is the peak value, the value of the static friction at this point. So remember, in your equations, when you are using the relation Fs is equal to mu s n, that means you are indicating to the maximum value of the static friction. But static friction might have lesser value as well, depending on the problem at hand. Sliding doesn't necessarily mean smooth. In real life, getting a frictionless surfaces are very tough. So unless you are making an air track or something, it's very difficult. Another thing we want to explore today is the fluid resistance and terminal speed. So let's look at this demonstration. I am dropping a ball in a fluid. Let's check once again. You can see that normally if you drop a ball in air, its speed goes on increasing. But if you check movement of this ball, it almost moves smoothly with a constant velocity. Its velocity does not change much. This happens because of the fluid resistance. If you have any moving body in a fluid, then the body will try to push the fluid away from its path. And by Newton's third law, the fluid pushes back on the body with equal and opposite force. So there is an opposite force that acts on the ball in the upward direction or in the direction opposite to the velocity. So direction of the fluid resistance force is always opposite to the direction of the body's velocity relative to the fluid. If you have small objects and moving at relatively low speeds, then the magnitude of the fluid resistance is proportional to the body's speed. F is proportional to the velocity of the body. The resistance force from the fluid is proportional to the first power of the velocity. K is a proportionality constant that depends on the shape and size of the body and the properties of the fluid. If you take directions into account, then F is normally written as minus kV. So what it indicates is the force due to fluid is opposite, minus sign shows opposite to the direction of velocity. Remember, that's how it is written in the equations. So going ahead, what are the forces acting on this bob which is moving in the fluid? Can anyone tell me? So right now I am ignoring the buoyant force. We will bring it later when we do the fluid mechanics. So remember, the only two forces working are fluid resistance and the weight. Weight of the bob will work downward, fluid resistance will work upward. So the fluid resistance kV, y represents y direction of velocity, works upward, and mg works downward. Bob is moving downward. We assume that the net acceleration is in the downward direction. I can write my Newton's law, which is sigma Fy, sum total of all the forces along y direction. So kVy is working in the upward direction, so we take it as positive. Mg is working in downward direction, so we take it as negative, is equal to Ay is working in downward direction, so we take it as negative MAy. Now fluid resistance depends on the velocity. Initially the velocity is very less because you have just dropped the ball. kVy term is very small, negligible. Therefore your acceleration in the downward direction is roughly same as the acceleration due to gravity. But as the bob accelerates downward, the velocity will go on increasing. It's accelerating. As the velocity increases, the reaction force increases. So this left hand side in the equation will go on decreasing. If velocity increases, then this term increases. So since left hand side decreases, the right hand side has to decrease. Now mass cannot decrease. The only thing that decreases is acceleration. Eventually there will be a situation when kVy will be equal to mg, and when both these forces will balance, the right hand side will become 0, that is the acceleration becomes 0. So initially when Vy is negligible, Ay is equal to g. As Vy increases, Ay decreases. Finally Ay becomes 0 and the velocity becomes constant to a velocity. We call it as terminal velocity, and I will write it as Vt. So I can write kVt minus mg is equal to 0, or terminal velocity can be written as mg by k. So this is the terminal velocity of the block, excluding buoyant forces and all. Thank you.